Go live. Here we go. We are live. All right. So, if y'all are hearing me out there, we're just getting seated here. Welcome to Enviroguard of the Central States. And we're going to be here today going through 9 different workshops every hour on the hour. Some will be a little shorter, some will be a little longer. I'll try to keep my talking at a minimum and stay to the points, okay? So before we get started, James Hoover. I know James hates to be on camera, but this is James. James and I are working together here. And if you're in the region, please, we're gonna give contact information throughout the day today, so that the products are close to you. Service is excellent. You should see his office. Everything having to do with servicing the customer is 100%, and he's committed to it. So thanks for hosting us today.
No
Appreciate it. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about is people rolling here. So you're going to probably see people behind me occasionally. Is going to be protective suits. Now, if you're familiar, right, we started out years ago with the core line of chemical products that we manufacture. But along the way, you run into, I'm sorry, I need to kind of get good at panning to both audiences. Okay, so along the way, you figure out that there are problems that everybody runs into on a daily basis on the job. And so what we endeavor to do at Enviroguard is not just be a manufacturing company, but also to be a distributor, but more like a distributor the way Apple's a distributor, right? Distributing products that are the best value, highest quality, not ignoring price, of course, but making sure that what we're selling, we can be experts in, right? We don't want to be like the Walmart of our industry where we have 10,000 different items and then we read off the screen what you could have read off the screen to yourself on a website or something like that. We want to really understand the use case for each and every product. So the reason that we're talking about suits today is it became really apparent that from a lightweight suit, like a 55-gram microporous suit, all the way through a polyethylene suit that would be for chemical exposure and things like that, not everyone really understood which suit to use when, or that sort of thing. So I'm going to go through each suit, what its use case is, and then take any questions as well. So here's, at the beginning of each of these presentations, we're going to kind of go through what the contents of each of our presentations has to do with. So we're going to introduce the protective suits here, talk about the 3 types of chemical exposure, we're going to go over the 4 types of suits that we've run into that will kind of cover you for anything. And then we'll talk about the push lock, which I'm glad to announce that these are coming in on the 29th, and we'll walk you through exactly how these are so effective. We'll talk about sizing, which we've seen as an issue, selection, and then any questions. All right. So the 4 types of suits that we're going to be talking about today, and I abbreviate these, okay? So we've got 3 microporous suits, meaning that they are breathable suits, and then we've got 1 polyethylene suit, okay? Just as a baseline, extreme chemical resistance and breathability don't mix, right? You can't have a breathable suit and also a chemical and waterproof suit at the same time, okay? And I know that sometimes they get uncomfortable, but then you've got to weigh burns and liability versus, chemical and water resistance. And we'll go through that detail. So we're going to be talking about the 3 NS suits. The first one here is what's called NS ANSI. The other 2 are called NS Global. And then we've got a Chemex 1 suit, okay? And I'll come over here. Now, I know y'all can't read this exactly, so I'm going to go through the 3 types of exposure. You've got an incidental exposure situation. That's when you're in maybe like a well-ventilated area. Let's say we're in an open structure or something like that. We're demoing, or we're demos already taken place, but there's a lot of air volume and that sort of thing. And your chemical exposure, just from like mist and overspray might be a thing. That's what we refer to when we say incidental. Direct exposure would be like, hey, we're working in a basement, an attic space, someplace that's not quite as open. You know you're coming in contact with chemical. That is a Ford Explorer. You're coming in direct contact with chemical, but it is not prolonged, right? It's just, every now and then, it's going to be raining on you or something of that nature. And then the next thing is that prolonged exposure. The perfect example of this would be like a crawl space, where you might have chemical coming down from like joist systems or something like that, or the ground or vapor barrier that you're lying on becomes wetted out, and there's going to be direct contact potentially to the skin if you didn't have the right barrier between you and the chemical. Okay, so just kind of keep those in the back of your mind as we're talking about this stuff. Hey, good morning. All right, so the first thing we're going to hit is the ANSI suit. All right, this is the ANSI, and the way that I would characterize this is it's a microporous suit that's 45 grams, but it's really like a clean suit, an inspection suit, things like that. We intentionally don't have feet on these because presumably you might be in and out of an office or a home or something like that. Need to take shoe covers off, put shoe covers back on, right? It's that kind of a suit that's just going to keep you clean. This isn't a chemical exposure suit at all. So you can kind of see it's, as we talk about this, I'm going to really focus in on the different types of seams. This is what's called a surge seam, which is just a sewn seam that you would see on any shirt. So the downside of that is, of course, the upside of that is it's cheap, right? The downside is chemical can freely flow through that seam, but it's microporous, so it's not going to be real chemical resistant anyway. So some features of this: it's got a standard elastic hood to it, okay? Not a respiratory fit hood. There's a difference, and I'll go over that. But this is a standard hood. It's got wrists and ankles that are elastic, just a standard zipper front, and like I said, no chemical contact. So the use cases for this would be things like dirt, oil, and grease, hazardous dry particulates such as lead and asbestos. That would be fine with this suit. Dry particle aerosols, just general industry spills, things like that, okay? So that is the ANSI suit. The second suit here is kind of a step up. We go from a 45 gram to a 55 gram, and this is a microporous suit. So things change here a little bit. Not only is it a little bit heavier, but you're going to see that things like chemical mist and things can come in contact with this, and it will be resistant to mist. The first thing that's going to be different is this is a respiratory fit hood, meaning that this neck comes up 5 inches higher to interface with the respirator, and there is a zipper cover here, okay? So you got a flap here. It's not adhered yet, but there is a flap there. This one, we intentionally left the boots off of this suit because this might be the person who's doing, I don't know, a mold remediation in a conditioned area or something of that nature, but still has to have the versatility of taking on and off shoe covers. Okay, we carry both, but this would be like good for fire, water, mold, any of those sorts of things, but not going into like biohazard cleanup, right? So that's the difference, right? This one doesn't have boots. Now the next one does. All right, and Antonio Medina, if any of y'all know him down in Florida, this was a conversation because I thought we would only need that suit at first and just keep everything real versatile with the shoe covers. But the NS Global also can come with shoe covers, so we are stocking this one now as well. And then this is when you get into biohazard cleanup and things like that. Now, I know some people really prefer to have those shoe covers, so we can go either way. There's a little bit of savings to be had with that one if you don't need it. All right. This has the same, storm flap here, hood, etc. Now we take a jump, okay? Most people are used to seeing a yellow suit. But this is a game changer. This is called a Chemex 1. Now, you're probably used to the polyethylene material, but you might not be used to the seam. Okay, so we looked at surge seams being on the rest of the suits there. This is a heat sealed seam. Now, if there's one thing that we know about confined spaces, it's that the first area to go is the butt, right? Everybody gets these things super large because that surge seam is the least expensive seam to do, but you might go through a couple suits a day because you're in a confined space, you bend over, you crouch down or something like that, and it tears, right? Which now you've lost all your chemical resistance. And if it's a surge seam as compared to a heat sealed seam, if you're using anything that's maybe peroxide based, chlorinated, etc., now you're going to see at all those seams where that product leads through. Okay, so if your guys ever come, have a dark shirt on and they come back and they've got white stripes, right? Then you've got a surge seam. Right? This is a heat sealed seam. It's water and chemical proof, and it's not going to split on you. So when it comes to sizing this suit, you actually want to size this to the weight and height of your technicians. That prevents people from flopping around and having ultra long, ultra big suits. They're less expensive when they're smaller suits as well. So it's worth just sizing everybody according to a kind of a true fit. I did miss one thing that I'll back up on real quick. The nice thing about these NS Global suits is that they all have elastic in the waist. So the sizing on these is going to be large/extra large, double/triple, and then quad/5X, so that you wouldn't have to have as many of these in inventory, if you will, so they're not that precise fit like our Chemex 1. But you do get benefits out of a more precise fit. Okay, so I'll just go over this real quick. The first thing that you need to know is that the barrier film here is rated for a minimum of 8 hours of continuous chemical exposure. So we can literally be laying on wetted ground or anything like that, and you're not going to get bleed through at all with this suit. The second thing is because of this continuous filament polypropylene, that's what's going to give you your durability. So expect to use this all day long. You're not going to go through multiple suits per day. We talked about the heat sealed seams. The other thing is that with this storm flap, now if I were to pull this off, it will adhere. And if you get out of the suit like at lunch or something like that, or multiple times per day, it'll re-adhere all day long. So you truly get that chemical proof closure now on this suit as well. You've got your respiratory fit hood here. Make sure I'm not missing anything. And non-skid boots on this. They're non-skid here. Those boots are non-skid as well. Okay? So that's just a little bit about the 4 suits. And then this is good for, of course, microbial remediation, paint and hazard, liquid sprays, low exposure, low risk chemicals, high exposure, high risk chemicals, bloodborne pathogens, wastewater treatment, and of course, all forms of chemical handling. Now, I'm going to get into the push lock system more when we talk about gloves and respiratory, but if you're familiar, I'm sure everybody is. Everybody has seen, wrapping your wrist with duct tape or something like that to kind of act as a seal between your gloves and the suit. This system here prevents that altogether. Okay, so when we talk about gloves and go through the respiratory side of things, I'm going to get into this and show you exactly how the system works with all of these suits, and answer any questions that you have there. Okay. Here is how you want to think about sizing. All right, so most people, we carry down to mediums in everything because we're not running into people on a daily basis who are like the size of children. So
I'm talking to you.
I'm sorry. All right, so we're going from mediums all the way up through 5X here. And basically 125 pounds up through 320 pounds. Heights begin at about 5'7", all the way up to 6'11". We can do special orders if we need need to for smaller suits, just a 6-case requirement for that. Okay.
And you can also do branding on the suits, right?
Yes. Yeah. If you are out there listening or anything, with 100-case orders combined, we can do branding on any of your suits. So it doesn't matter which one it is. 100-case orders secures that. So if that's something that's attractive, let us know. All right. So I've got these for handout, and this just is a kind of a. You can just pass that down. This is just a quick reference. And by the way, if you're out there watching this, this is in Work Drive. So I know Grace is on the other side of this kind of running things. If you want access to this sheet that just kind of takes you through everything by suit and like the use case, or by the suit and the types of features that the suit has, refer to this. It's just a quick reference for you. So this talks about performance by suit with general purpose / inspection, lead, asbestos, and spills, water, mold, and fire remediation, chemical spray and liquid splash, biohazard, trauma and crime scene cleanup, direct continuous chemical contact, and then hazardous alkaline and acid chemicals. Okay. Anytime you have questions on that, one of the things that we always are really responsive to, and I mean like, within minutes, whether you jump on the website, call our toll-free number, text us, whatever. If you need direction on, hey, what suit should I be wearing if I'm using this product? We can tell you immediately what that is. Okay. All right. And then the second one, of course, here is just looking at the feature of each suit and kind of matching that up for you as well. Okay. Any questions? And that includes you too, Grace. If anybody has questions on the live stream, let me know. I'll come out of this real quick and go over to the live stream just in case you need to type it in and ask me there. Any questions that you guys have on that stuff? It's really simple and straightforward, I know. No? Anything over there, Grace? Okay. Well, we are going, all of these are going to be, 15 minutes probably at a minimum, as we go into some that are, more demonstration oriented. They might be about, 30 minutes long. So we'll go ahead and on that side end the live stream. And then Grace, I will see you at quarter of the next hour for the second live stream. All right.